Hello guys, welcome back to another epic parkour video. Today we're covering rank XII. This is one of the first really long ranks of the Linkcraft ranks. I'm gonna quickly go over the layout of the map. So obviously it's I think it's like a mansion theme or something. So I'm gonna go into spectator mode. So you have this outside part. You have about 11 rooms of parkour. Some of them are failsafe, some of them are life or death, of course. And it's kind of let's see, on XI there was a lot of failsafe. This map has a lot of life or death, but it also has a lot of failsafe. It has like a balanced mix of life or death and failsafe. And then here's Sky, of course, and then it goes to the end. So there's not much to say about it. You can't really get a good picture of the whole map until we start playing because there are a lot of teleport signs, but that's the overview of the map. So we'll go ahead and get started with this section, which is called Outside. Of course, with your ladder plus 2s, just do the semi-head hitter strat and don't run off like I just did. For this, face like 85. Do some Pessy and strafe in at the end. It's not too precise. You can skip that Pain Neo if you want to. And then for your Z1s, you don't do any taps. For this, if you want chords, you can face 51, and you can do anywhere between 2 tick and 4 tick, and all of them land. This is an invisible double Neo. You can do head hitter, you can do A7, you can also do the face 94, 4 unshift taps, and 4 tick, or some alternate coordinates. If you go for here, and I think it's let's see, I think it's 81.5, 81 or so. If you do 81 from the back here, and then you can do 3 tick or 2 tick while holding space, and then both of them make it. So that's just like a multi-tick way to do that double Neo. And then you do your single Neos normal way. Just do this with 5 tick or 6 tick at an angle, right? Not too precise. There's a lot of these fuzz ladders on this map. Just I was standing kind of far back, but you would stand a little bit more forward, face out a lot, try to get a 1 tick strafe. And that means strafing 1 tick after jump. When I say 1 tick strafe, I mean strafe as early as possible after jumping, is the general idea. And you would do some smooth turn in once you pass the pain, right? This, if you don't know A7 head hitter, this would be a good time to learn it, because you can do it straight with A7 head hitter, which just means jump and hit W 1 tick before landing. Whereas with head hitter timing, you hit the wall. If you want to do it with head hitter, face about 75, and then you're going to have to strafe with D after jumping, just to get out of the way of the ladder. But I would recommend learning A7 head hitter for that if you don't know it. And for these, you're just going to do force momentum, of course. With this, I have actually wrote down coordinates for this map this time, so I can just teleport to them. So you're just going to go to the corner, and you're going to face 6.3. It's kind of a precise angle, so you might have to mess with it a bit. And you're going to do slow force momentum, which is when you jam and then hit sprint on the tick you land. You can do anywhere between 9 tick force momentum and 12 tick force momentum, and all of them will make this without turning or strafing. So you have like 4 ticks of lenience here, so it's really simple to pull off that timing. For this, you have a couple strategies you can do. You can do 1 shift tap, and then you can force momentum the whole thing while holding space. But I would recommend instead just go to the back here and do force momentum. Slow force momentum, because you have more lenience with the timing with this variant when you go from here than when you go from back there. Then you'll flip up here. You have a few iron bar Neos. You're just going to do the normal strategies. 2 shift taps back, semi-head hitter. Or if you prefer the sprint strategy, you can also do that instead. And then we have 1 last jump. You're just going to semi-head hitter from here off of the carpets down here, because all those are slimes. And then you get to room 1. And I'll just jump down to the start of the room, because it starts you a bit early. A bit later in the room than the actual start of the room is. Okay, do 3 shift taps and 5 tick. For this, you can just head hitter this, but I also have a chords if you prefer Pessy. I think it was 78. No, sorry. Hold a second. Pull this up. Alright, if you face 77.5, do an unshift tap, then you can do anywhere between max Pessy and 3 tick Pessy, and all of them will jump. So that's just a Pessy setup if you prefer Pessy. And then this, you don't have to go to the ladder, you can actually go straight to there. And what you can do is you're going to line up at the corner of this block at x equals 0.3. You're going to face, I think it's 86.3. And then you're going to do one shift tap with D. And then from here you can just Pessy. And you can either no turn by adding strafe at basically any time, or you can turn in at the end, and either of those are pretty imprecise. For this, go to this corner, face, let's see, it's 34, do 2 unshift taps backward, and then you're just going to run off and hold space. You just tap space once you land on the ground, and it'll just do that for you. For here, you're just going to use your normal ladder slide strategy where you drop down. Of course, do 1 shift tap and force momentum. This jump is kind of awkward. Just because you have to do like a weird turnout in order to make it work. So here's some coordinates that you might like. If you do 0.85 on the back of the trapdoor and face 27.5, you can do 2 tick or 3 tick. The thing is that you kind of have to turn late, and you really want to aim for 3 tick if anything. Oh gosh, I should turn on my keystrokes actually. There you go. You want to aim for 3 tick over 2 tick because it's just further forward and it's easier to turn over 2 tick. You might not like this angle though. If you don't like this angle, you can always scoot back a bit and then turn out slightly. So something like this might work instead. There are a few different possible angles you can choose there, but that's the general strategy. It's awkward with basically every strategy. Even sidestep is kind of awkward there. For this, you're going to go to the corner, face 61, and then 4 tick or 3 tick with a early strafe. And you can just smooth turn in. This one, you can do the same thing, but you can face 60 instead. Just because it's more and more, or you can scoot forward a bit to here and then do a 1 or 2 tick timing sort of thing. For this, face 65 and you can 6 tick while holding space from the back, and it'll chain that water all the way to the stair. If you don't like 6 tick, you can scoot forward and then do 5 tick. That'll work, or you can scoot forward and do 4 tick. Or you can scoot forward and do 3 tick. You can do basically any tick timing with that angle. So just pick one of them and then be happy with that tick timing. Of course, you can do iron bar neos the same way as before. I've talked about Cairo ladders quite extensively at this point, so I'm just going to breeze through this. Face about 5 degrees outward on that more precise one, and get that strafe 1 tick after jumping. For this, face about 133. I recommend 133 because that's about as inward as you can go while still guaranteeing you're not going to hit the pane. Basically, no matter what turn you do, you can't hit the pane as long as you don't turn on jump tick, for example. So you're going to semi-head hitter and get a 1 tick strafe there. Face about 121 or 120 and semi-head hitter, and then from the back there, and that'll work. Now we're on to room 2, which if you fail, then you're going to go back to the previous room, so don't fall. Right? This first part's kind of easy. Just head hitter from the front of here. This X-facing corner is a little scary because it looks like you have to do a head hitter timing or something. Here's a secret strategy. If you go to this corner and face 45 and force momentum, and just keep holding it, then it'll just go all the way over here. And you can do any force momentum timing here, because you'll notice that when I'm doing force momentum, I'm already into the wall, so I can't even sprint. So do any force momentum timing and just keep holding it, and then it'll make it all the way over there. And if you accidentally head hitter when you're trying to do force momentum, then just stop yourself, right? For this, you don't have to do head hitter. I have coordinates for this. If you go to 0.707 you're gonna be against this wall, and you have x 0.707 and face 1 degree outward. You can do max Pesi, 2 tick Pesi, 3 tick Pesi. If I can get 3 tick Pesi. Trust me, you can do 3 tick Pesi, or even 6 tick Pesi. So you have 6 ticks of timing that you can do, and you just hold space, and it'll jump at the end for you. The one thing is that the coordinates are pretty precise, so just mess around with it, move yourself by like very tiny amounts until it works, but that'll work. Alright, and then you just jam out of this. For this, you can go to 0.0 on Z and face 30 and semi head hitter, and that'll make it without turning or strafing. And just jump down here. For this, face 13 head hitter timing and just tap space when you land on the pane. And that's me lining up with the back of this block at Y18, right? For this, you can just semi head hitter straight to this block. Maybe face a bit more out than I am, but you can also, if you want to, you can just go straight to the stair. All right, and then we're about like halfway through the room. We're actually pretty close to the end. I have coordinates for this as well, which is if you go to 0.6 on this edge and face 160, you can semi head hitter, and basically any strafe timing will work here. You just don't hit this front of the cobble wall. You wouldn't want to do that, but I optimized the chord, so it's pretty hard for that to happen. For this, go from the back and do 2 shift taps, and then you can either 4 tick and hold space, or you can do 5 tick and hold space. So both timings work, so it's lenient. Of course, just Pesi that. Find something random there, just force momentum these. It's not too bad. You can do 3 shift taps here because it's kind of long. Face 45, semi head hitter. And then for this, you have 2, they call them Skeppy jumps, because Skeppy didn't invent them, but anyway, you can just run from the back here, and you can just keep running. Because this thing, you're just supposed to run off and you'll make it into the gap. Make sure you don't press space during any of this, or you'll miss the gap, you'll fall down there, and you'll be really sad, you know. Okay, and that's the end of room 2. Now we're on to room 3. You can just force momentum from that. Run from the back here, you can get 5 tick or 4 tick, so it works. You can just head hitter this facing 36. And it'll, oh, sorry, I knew it was 35 and it didn't work. Okay, if you face about 35.5, it'll make it. If you don't like head hitter, one like other strategy is there's like barriers here. You can face 36, do 1 shift tap backward, unshift tap, and then you can jam and hold space, and then that'll make it there. Line up with the fence, face slightly rightward so that you can get through the squeeze, and then just land here. Do slow force momentum from the back here. 1 unshift tap and jam for the 2 block momentum with a 3 block ceiling. From here you can just 3 tick or 4 tick from the back. Both of them make it. Then we have a little bit of a tricky jump here because this is a ladder neo, but you have a 3 block ceiling, so it makes it kind of hard. I would say face 11 and then do either a strafe 2 ticks or 3 ticks after jumping with a smooth turn. If you prefer a 1 tick strafe, then what you could do is face 14 instead, and that's a pretty good angle to get like a smooth turn 1 tick strafe as well. Because of the 3 block ceiling, you actually can't go straight to the ladder. You would prefer to do that, but you can't. So just do 1 unshift tap, force momentum, and then turn outward to grab the ladder instead of landing on top of it. For this, you can go to the front, you can head hitter, or you can go to the back, face like 15 and 2 tick. Unfortunately, it's a force tick regardless. There's like nothing you can do here to prevent it from being a force tick. For these, you can do 1 shift tap, like you can set up basically 1 block of momentum and Pesi normally. Or with this one, you can just do 3 shift taps and you can actually just run straight across it if you want. to do that, or you can jump, you know, either way works. Cool. And also, if you don't want to semi-head hitter this, you can run it. For this, you don't actually have to head hitter out of the ceiling. You can face 170, do one unshift tap with D, and then you can Pessy. Do anything between 1 tick and 3 tick Pessy, and all of them will jump out of the ceiling. And do it without sprinting, because you don't need that much distance to make that. For this one, face 155, do an unshift tap with W, and then you're going to force momentum. You want to aim for strafing as soon as possible after jumping, so 1 tick after jumping. But you can still make it with like a 2 ticks after jumping. I think you can even make it with, maybe not with 3 ticks, but do force momentum, strafe 1 tick after jumping. Try to also do like a quick turn on that tick 1 tick after jumping as well. For this, you don't have to head hitter it. You can if you want, but I would recommend if you go to 0.21, face 175 and do 3 shift taps. Now, if you do 5 tick or 4 tick, you can do it without turning. But if you can also 3 tick if you do it like if you do it straight. It's just kind of precise in comparison. So I would say do it no turn. Aim for 5 tick or 4 tick and just do it like that, right? Now this sign would teleport you on the actual map, but because I'm on a different server, it's not going to teleport me, so I'm just going to fly to where it teleports me, which is right here. So on the real map, when you click it, it'll just teleport you here, and this is the start of room 4, which you could go from there, but this is where the actual start of the room is. And then of course for these long jumps, always do 1 shift tap and force momentum. That's always going to be the strategy for those. This jump's a little funny. You might be confused, like, should this trapdoor be up or down? Keep it up, and then the coordinates you're going to want to use, go to 0.2, face 178. Do 2 unshift taps with W, and then 1 shift tap with S. And then from here, you're not going to turn. You can do basically any strafe timing. You can strafe on jump. You can strafe like 3 ticks after jumping as well. And all of them make it without turning. So that's a nice strategy. It might look like you have to do like a head hitter timing here or something to get to that block. You can actually chain. So if you go from, let's see, I don't remember what the angle is. This is room 4. 155.1-ish. Anything greater than 155, basically. You're going to head hitter from this back corner, and then you're going to do like a smooth turn in once you're like about to land, and don't strafe at all. And that's the general idea of the setup there to avoid the tick timing. The barriers here, they're actually quite lenient. You'll notice that there's like section stuff up here later. There's barriers all over this place. There's only some missing over there. So you're just going to jump over here, or if you're down here, you're just going to Pessy onto this block. And then you're going to go to that pane. The strategy, let's see, what's the angle? Negative 72.5 from this corner. And you're going to 4 tick with, you can either 1 tick strafe or you can 0 tick strafe. Meaning you can either strafe on the tick you jump, or you can strafe 1 tick after. I would say with both of them, probably turn in, just so that you don't like go flying off at all, because you still have to save yourself at the end. And then of course if you mess up, like oh no I fell, then there's barriers down here, so you don't have to worry too much about that. And then this part's not too bad. If you can actually do this without strafing or shifting, which is kind of interesting. If you face 107.8 and then semi head hitter, you can either get A7 or jam, and both of them grab the ladder, and you don't have to shift or strafe at all. For this, go to the back of the anvil at 0.5 on X, and then face 14. You're gonna jam, and you're gonna strafe preferably 1 tick after jumping, but you can strafe like as much as like 3 ticks after jumping, and you'll still be fine. And you'll want to turn in. Technically, it's no turn if you do 1 tick strafe, but just in case you get a later strafe, you should also just turn in as like a safety thing, right? With this, there's this seems like it's pretty much just a forced tick as the concern. So what you would do is you would do a few shift taps and then run off onto here. You would semi-head hitter this. And then this is basically a force tick. You could head hitter from the front. You could do 3 taps back and 2 tick if you prefer 2 tick. There's also some jank stuff, like if you do 3 shift taps, you can run this. Sure, wait, is that right? Or okay, maybe you should just do 2 shift taps because it looks like I'm overshooting. Yeah, if you just do 2 shift taps and run off, then you can run 2 ticks on the pane if you prefer that. It's unfortunate, but it's pretty much just a forced timing, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. I messed around a lot and I couldn't really find anything. So with this, of course, you can semi-head hitter this, or you can get more momentum. I'll probably get a bit more momentum from that. And then this is just a 3x3. You can do it straight like this with random chords, or if you want actual chords, you can start here, face, let's see, I think it's 130 and 2 tick holding space. Yeah, if you face 130, 2 tick and hold space, then it'll just go straight there. And now we're on the transition from room 4 to room 5. So what you're gonna do, obviously do 3 shift taps because it's 1 block backward, because otherwise it's a forced tick. And then just do your single neos as you would always. Head hitter this probably. Force momentum this. You can force momentum from here and tap space on the block to chain that, or you can force momentum from here and hold space, and that works. And then this is the hardest jump of the transition, but it's still really not that hard. If you go to this corner, face 5, do 1 shift tap with A, and then you can also optionally do a shift tap with W. Then you can just force momentum this, and then it's like a very, very imprecise turn in / strafe / etc. Right? That's the end of the transition. Now you're on room 5. Now this room actually has like a major skip. If you want to go the intended way, you would go this way, and you can continue like that. But if you want to do the skip, there's this part right here. You can see it's a knee up, but you have to go around like the ladder wing. There's 2 strategies I'll show you. First one, if you face 93, I would probably recommend this one and go to the corner. You can run 7 ticks with WA, and then do WAD sidestep. And if you don't know what that means, that just means that you're gonna jump with W, and then 1 tick after jumping with W, you're gonna strafe with WD, right? And if you don't like that one, you can face 93.2 instead. And then you're going to do max C4.5 with WA, which just means you would do max force momentum with WA, run 1 tick, and then do WAD sidestep. I don't prefer this one though, because it's just kind of hard to like visualize what running 1 tick means when you're on the slab, and now it's kind of unintuitive to me, but you can do whatever there. But of course that's completely optional because that's a skip. So if you go the intended way, what it would look like is, of course, you do your 3 shift taps here. Probably just head hitter this double neo because you don't really need it. It's at the start of the room, doesn't matter. This has a couple strategies. The first one, both of them are force momentum. The first one, if you don't like strafing on jump tick, it's this one. It's at 0.92 on this edge, face 144. You would force momentum, and then you would do you would preferably strafe 1 tick after jumping, but if you can do several ticks after if you need it. But what I would recommend instead of that one, that's just in case you don't like this other strategy, which is these coordinates, which is 0.97 face 147. And you still force momentum, but this time you strafe on jump tick. And what's nice about this is you get like really good speed in the direction you want to go. So as long as you get the timing, you're basically like guaranteed to make the jump, right? Because it's just so lenient. So I would recommend those second coordinates. You need to get to that bookshelf, but it's kind of far away, so make sure you're doing a shift tap. And optionally, you can also scoot forward to 0.21, which is about like the optimal coordinates for force momentum, because 1 shift tap doesn't go as forward as possible. So you can do that if you want, just because that's such a long jump. Okay. And then you have this, you just Pessy. To get to that pane, you can just go to the corner, face 8 and head hitter timing. Just be careful, because if you accidentally two-tick, of course you're just gonna run off the block, right? So aim between head hitter and jam, so that if you jam, at least you can like stop yourself if you mess up, right? For this, you can just semi-head hitter. If you don't want a semi-head hitter, you can scoot back and then you can do one tick or two tick, and that'll work. Of course, do 3 shift taps and 5 tick here. For this, we have another Tyrone ladder X facing. This is the same as the jump on X, S1 to 2. So if you, we're just going to use the same coordinates. If you go to 0.49 against the wall, and then you face 8 degrees, then you're going to run for 5 ticks and strafe 1 tick after jumping. And these coordinates are good because they can actually make this jump even if it was 1 block higher, if this ladder was 1 block higher. So it's really good at that. And also, I think whenever I do this, it feels like I'm going to hit the wall. But like as long as you get 5 tick, you're basically guaranteed to not hit the wall just because the coordinates have been optimized in a really nice way. So you can use that. For this fuzz ladder, just go to the front corner here, face about, I guess 55 would be good probably. Face about 55, get a 1 tick strafe, turn after you pass the paint, right? And then on this next part, there are 2 routes you can go. You can go left or right. This route's Route A, this is Route B. I think Route B is easier, so I'm just going to cover Route B, but you can find strategies for Route A if you really want to do that. Just right-click this chest, and then it'll teleport you up here. And then you have a triple neo, but this triple neo is fail-safe, and it's actually not that hard, so it'll be fine. If you go to this corner and face 166, you'll just 3-tick from here, and then you're gonna do a smooth pre-turn, just to get your like momentum going straight. It's possible by a lot, but it helps if you just do something like smooth instead of like, you can still get it like just a sharp jump angle and you can still make it, but it helps if you get like a nice pre-turn into it. For this one, it's not really that precise, it's just like awkward momentum. So you can use these coordinates. If you go to 0.5 against this wall and face 145.5, you can semi-head hitter and do a late strafe. The main thing is just trying to stop yourself on this ladder because you get a bunch of speed. So like something like that would be bad. So try to like turn all the way around and stop yourself, and you may end up hitting like that block while you're trying to stop yourself. And that's fine if it's like assisting you. Just try and make sure you're able to stop on your own and turn basically all the way around to stop all of your momentum, right? Oh my gosh, I just failed that. And then you have a Cairo ladder +1. So for this, go against this wall here, face 99, and no sprint jam, and then re-tap space when you land on top of the ladder, because this corner is Z facing, so you can just land on top of the ladder there, and then it's not too hard. And then of course be careful with these panes, it's really easy to fall off those if you're not careful. Face 30, semi-head hitter, of course. For this is not a forced tick. If you go to the front, and then 1 unshift tap back, you can do both head hitter and 2-tick, and both of them make it. And then that's the end of Route A. So now the 2 routes have like joined back up, and now it's all on 1 route again. For this, you can semi-head hitter from the corner. If you really don't want to do that, you can also do 0.8 face 48. And then both jam, head hitter, and 2-tick all work here. And just do a late turn and strafe once you're past the corner. This jump is actually like a lot harder than it looks, I think. This jump is in XV Sky, and people honestly fail this jump all the time. So I'll give you a few tips with it. Face 35 and semi-head hitter from the corner. The main thing here is you want to make sure you get like a late strafe. You don't want to get like a 1-tick strafe and hit the X-facing corner here, because that's like the main way that you can like screw up. And then the other way I see people screw up is if they like over jump. So make sure you're getting a late strafe and kind of sharp turn right at the end, but don't turn like way too much, you know. Cool. And then this part's fail safe if you just go walk around. For this, if you don't want to do head hitter timing, it is fail safe or I guess kind of fail safe. If you mess up, there's an alternate strategy. If you go to this corner, face 133, and then, oh sorry, maybe it's a 32, and you force momentum while holding space. I know it's kind of weird to force momentum even there's a ladder above you, but then it jumps for you at the end. It's kind of like a weird Pessy. The one thing is that if you head hitter, you need to be able to stop yourself. If you don't stop yourself, then you can at least catch yourself on this ladder, but the same thing with Pessy. But if you get head hitter, just try and stop yourself before you go. So that's the thing there. Just have a pane up here, face 143 and semi-head hitter. For this, you can chain it. Just face 100 and then one unshift tap and force momentum. And just hold space. And then you're going to do a late turn and strafe because you don't want to accidentally hit that pane when you're passing it because you turned too early. This jump's really weird. What you're going to want to do is go to 0.3 against the wall, and then face 135 as close as you can, and you're going to do 6 unshift taps. 4, 5, and you have to do this many because you just move so slowly on Soul Sand. And if you lost count, you can also just go directly to these coordinates, which is 0.43, 0.57, and then you're just going to force momentum. And you can do anywhere between 1 and 3 tick force momentum. So you have 3 ticks of leniency to perform the timing. So it's fine. Just catch yourself if you do head hitter, obviously. Go to the front, semi-head hitter. For this, you're going to use the same chords as you used in room 4, which was 0.5, face 166 in this case. And you're just going to jam, and you're going to try to get 1 tick strafe, or you strafe 1 tick after jumping, but you don't need to. Just try to get an early strafe, and then just 6 tick this at an angle. Last few jumps here, just Pessy these. Force momentum this, of course. Pessy this. And then you're done with room 5, which is probably the longest room in the map. I'm going to take a water sip, hold on. Alright, that's my water. Here's a room 6. This room's pretty short, but it does have a few tricky jumps. For this, there's not much getting around it. You're just going to face 175 and head it, or try and get an early strafe. Try and control your momentum by getting a fast turn, because you are getting like way too much speed, way more than you need, right? Then for this, go to the corner, face 126, do 1 unshift tap with S, 1 shift tap with D, and then practice. You can either do head hitter or 2 tick, and both of them will make it. The turn is basically the same either way. You're going to turn and strafe once you hit the cobble wall, basically. And both of them are fairly lenient, so it's not too bad. You do like a sharp turn there. Okay. This jump's kind of awkward. I have like 3 or 4 different strategies you can use. The first one, if you like A7 head hitter, you can go to 0.45, and then you can, if I face out a bit more, you can A7 head hitter, and then you can sprint backward to stop yourself. Alternatively, you can, if you hit the wall, you can do like a no sprint stop instead. That's something I prefer to do usually, so you can do either of those. If you don't like A7 head hitter, you can also head hitter. You would just face like a really tiny angle. One thing you can do is you can do like you just have to like slow yourself down. So one way you can do that is if you strafe really early, right? So you can see I'm doing like an early strafe to slow myself down, and I'm turning into the wall. But you can also just like turn all the way, which is kind of awkward, but if you don't like strafing, you can always try that. And then the same thing applies here, where you can either do a no sprint variant. Let me see if I can do the strafe. You can either do a no sprint landing where you retap, or you can sprint, right? And either of them work. But then there's the third strategy. If you don't like turning, there is a no turn, but it does have a kind of complicated input. If you face 110, you're going to do head hitter timing, but you're going to run 1 tick with WD. So run 1 tick with WD and then jam with W. And then you can either do the sprint failsafe where you turn around, or you can do the no sprint failsafe where you obviously stop sprinting. For this, just do 3 shift taps, and then you can either do 3 or 2 tick. Sorry, you don't have to semi-head hitter that. If you go to 135 in this corner, and then force momentum, and just re-tap space on the ladder, any force momentum timing will work here, and I'll just like skip the Cairo ladder. Just run this from the back, it's not too precise. You can either run that, or you can do force momentum. I did force momentum. You can figure out what you want there. This is kind of awkward, but it does have a nice strategy that kind of skips all the tick timings. If you go from the front and do 1 shift tap back, and then semi head hitter and tap space everywhere, both A7 and jump jam work here. The one thing that's tricky is that when you land on this first pane, you hit your head on the ceiling, and that makes it 2 tiers higher, which just means that you land 2 ticks earlier than otherwise. Whereas the second one you don't. So the first jump timing is a lot earlier than you think. So just keep that in mind. Don't accidentally hit it too late, because if you hit it too late, something like this can happen very easily, right? Where you just run off. So that's what you do for that. And then you can force momentum this if you want to, and then just semi head hitter this from the back, and then that's the end of room 6. For this, you can either jump or not jump. If you don't jump, just hold space on every water, and of course you're turning all the way around. And then if you want to jump, you can just like passy, and then hold space on every water again. So hold space the entire time, regardless of which strategy you use, jumping or not jumping. Now we're on to room 7. This one's also pretty short, but it might be a little harder, I think. There's an invisible single neo here for some reason. Don't really worry about it. You have a couple strategies for this jump. They're both going to take advantage of this wall to slow down yourself. So if you go to first one, if you go to this corner and face 141, you can semi head hitter, and then strafe 1 tick after jumping, or 2 ticks. 2 ticks also works. It's pretty imprecise. It's just you don't get a lot of speed with this one, is the one downside, but it is really quick to set up just because you can just go to the corner. If you want more speed, if you go to this corner with the barriers and face 131, you can do 3 unshift taps, and then you can force momentum, and then it's the same thing, except now you can also can you 0 tick strafe? No, you can't. Okay, never mind. Except it's like much less precise of a. You can do basically any strafe timing. You can do basically any turn, and you'll still make it. So this is just like a less precise version of the strategy. Just takes a little bit more time to set up. For this one, this is kind of awkward, but you're just gonna face about 5 degrees inward, so about 175. Do semi head hitter. Do like a 3 tick strafe. So strafe 3 ticks after jumping, and then do a late turn as well, right? For this, do literally anything. I mean, right? Do literally anything there. For this, go to this corner, face 177, and semi head hitter while holding space. You can either turn in at the end, or you can strafe in at the end, and both of them are completely viable. And that just avoids that you don't have to do like a tick timing or something here. Alternatively, if you wanted, you could try and find some other like tick from there to chain instead, but yeah. From here, do 1 unshift tap, 2 shift taps, and then semi head hitter. You can either do jump jam or A7, both of them work, so it's multi-tick. Cool. And then just jump here. From here, just run 5 ticks or 4 ticks or whatever. This is like absurdly imprecise. I just made it with 2 tick, so it's not that hard. For here, face, I can't remember the angle, 37, and semi head hitter. That's the angle for X facing, and then 45 for Z facing. This jump's kind of precise for like no reason. I don't even know why it's here. But go to the corner, face 7, and do 1 shift tap. You have 2 ways you can do this. You can run for 3 ticks and then strafe 1 tick after jumping, and then you make it without even turning. If you don't like strafing, you can just get a like pre-turn, get a jump angle. Just be careful that you don't like fall off, right? That's the like only thing here. For this, if you know burst, you don't need to use burst here. Just get to like the true edge of the block. Make sure it's like 29999. And if you face completely straight, you can head hitter out of this, but you need to be like on the true edge of the block, or else you'll still bump your head. So it's just kind of precise chords. For this, go to this very corner and face slightly rightward. It may look like you're gonna hit that fence. You're not gonna hit that fence, I promise. And then just 4 tick from the back and hold space for that. For this, go to the corner, 2 shift taps left, and then you're not going to hit the fence because that's less than 2 pixels. And then 5 or 6 tick, and just like do like a nice turnout in the middle of your run. Okay, and then this one you could do this normally, but that was kind of scary for me. If you want, you can use 0.3 face. Oh gosh, I was on such a streak. I don't remember the coordinates for this one. We're in room 7. 0.3 face 52. So you face 52 here. And then you do a no sprint jam, and then that'll land on top of the ladder. And then of course you'll jump again to like stop yourself once you land on top of it. Right? We got really long water apparently. Now this is the transition from room 7 to room 8. It is kind of scary, but it is like just as easy as the one from room 4 to room 5, so there's not much to worry about in terms of difficulty here. Just remember your setups. You have 2 shift taps here for safety reasons, so you can get optimal distance. This 4 block jump, remember, you can just force momentum if you want. If you want to actually use the momentum, you can just force momentum from the back. That also works. And then just semi-head hitter this. To that ladder, you can semi-head hitter, or I would probably do 3 taps and just run it. Semi-head hitter this, just like a single kneel. Just be mindful of the ladder. It's easy to like fall off because of the ladder being slightly bigger if you don't notice it. For this, you can either find a random semi-head hitter. It's like absurdly imprecise, or you can also, it's also really easy from here. Right, you can find like a multi-tick basically every time you guess. So, and that's already the end of the transition. You just have to be careful here. Just make sure you're holding W the whole time, as the sign says, or else that would be a devastating end to basically the end of the map, right? Now I think we're on what I would consider the hardest part of the map. You have this room, which is room 8, and then the next room, which is through here. If you fail in, I guess it's up here. If you fail in here, then you go back to this previous room. So you have to do both of these rooms in a row, and then there's also this thing, which is it's the case for this as well, but that's also easy. That part's called elevator. So we're starting in here, which is room 8. Just do force momentum here. But with modern strategies, I think it'll make this room a lot easier. Unfortunately, this is X facing, so you have to do the face 5 out and semi-head hitter strategy. Just strafe 1 tick after jumping, as always. For this, I don't have coordinates, but just like do it. Because once you get here, there's a ladder here that's fail-safe. So, and then for your ladder neos, you can do face 169, do a 2 tick or 3 tick strafe with head hitter timing or jam. And then face 14 if you want to get 1 tick strafe instead. For this triple neo, it's kind of an awkward momentum, but there's a nice setup you can use. Let me make sure I got that angle right. If you face 87.8 from this corner, do 2 shift taps with D, 3 shift taps with W, and then you can 4 tick. So that. And then don't strafe at all, of course, just like a normal triple neo. And basically any turn will make this, because it's like fairly imprecise in terms of the distance, right? For this one, you can head hitter if you want, but you can also you can use the Pessi setup if you go 170, 1 unshift tap with A, and then do anywhere between with sprints, do anywhere between 1 tick to 3 tick Pessi, and all of them will jump to the ladder. So that's pretty nice. But for this one, of course, you're going to do your normal Cairo ladder strategy where you do a 1 tick strafe. Pain neos, 2 shift taps back for the X facing one. Cool. For this, probably don't semi-head hitter. Probably face about like 5, or maybe a bit more, honestly, like 7, and do 3 shift taps, 4 tick. You can do 3 tick, 4 tick. Maybe you can even do like 2 tick with this strategy. Just do a late strafe, and then you're fine. And then you can go to here, face. Let's see, it's 143 for X facing. And then you can do pain force momentum here if you want for this Z facing Tyrone pain -1. I guess that's what it's called. But I prefer just go face 82, 3 shift taps. And then you can do 3 tick or 4 tick, and both of them with a late strafe. Alternatively, when I played this map, I did something crazy. I kind of went here and I did 3 shift taps, and then I held space. Or sorry, that's the wrong angle. It's like, there you go. So you can do 4 tick and you can hold space. And then that has an even easier turn if you want to do that instead, but it's kind of weird. It's not really necessary. Let me take a water break real quick. Alright. Cool. We just have a bunch of invisible neos. These first couple are single neos. For the double neo, just find random jam coordinates. Like maybe that's bad, but there you go. Now it's something like that, and then it's just really lenient, you know. Jam this, and then this one you don't have enough room to jam, but you can find a force momentum. You just kind of have to be careful about inertia, because whenever you have like a small angle with force momentum, you move in weird kind of unintuitive ways. So just find random force momentum chords that make it onto the block. This is probably one of the weirdest jumps on the map. Enough to the point that I have like a sidestep strat if you want to use one. The first strategy I would recommend is probably go to this corner, face 145, and head hitter timing with a 1 tick strafe, so strafe 1 tick after jumping. And you're just gonna kind of do like a smooth turn inward. If you don't like the turn timing, you can also turn slightly more inward. It's just that with this, it's possible now to hit the pain if you turn too early, like that. Or if you like 2 tick strafing, you could go to 148, and then that would probably be a good angle for 2 tick strafe, or even like more probably, you know. Just mess around with the angle generally if you're doing it straight. If you want to do sidestep, because I found this jump like really hard when I first tried it, so I might have used sidestep if I knew about it. So if you go to the same spot on the wall and you face 159, you're gonna do head hitter wad sidestep. If you don't know what that is, you're gonna run for 1 tick with WD, and then you're gonna jump with W, and then you're gonna swap to WD 1 tick after that, and then it's completely no turn. So that's an alternate sidestep strat you can use. For this, you can actually skip this if you head hitter from here if you want, but that being said, it is pretty easy because you can, you know, it's not that hard, right? Just be mindful, because when you're on the soul sand, you have to be within 1,000th of a block of the edge in order to nullify the effects of the soul sand. Anything more than that, and that's like a really tiny amount, right? You have to be on like the perfect edge. Anything more than that, and you'll get like the full effects of the soul sand. So just be mindful that you're getting onto the true edge whenever you're dealing with soul sand. You can chain this like that if you want, just with some random chords. I would probably recommend just going up to the front here and doing like a semi head hitter though, because if you think about this is kind of just like a buffed fuzz ladder, so it's not really too hard. And then now we're on the life or death room, so don't fall, obviously. We have a few panios. We do have like an awkward one coming up. Obviously, do 2 shift taps for these. This one, the issue is that there's the 3+1 here. If you wanted to do the 3+1, you could do 2 shift taps, and then you could just 3 tick. But obviously, we don't want to do a forced tick timing. So what you can do is you can kind of treat this like 1 block of momentum, do 1 shift tap, and then force momentum normally, like that. That's a completely viable strategy. You just need to stop yourself if you get head hitter, obviously, and it's a little bit awkward. The other thing you can do is you can do semi-head hitter force momentum. The thing you have to be careful about is if you get XII force momentum, then you can overjump a lot of the time. So you have to make sure if you're doing that, then probably don't do a shift tap. And even with that, it's still possible to overjump. So just make sure you're sprinting slowly if you get A7, basically. So you have a few options for how you would force momentum that, but I would recommend to force momentum. From here, just run off the front corner. This, I have an angle if you want it, but it's not really necessary. You can go to here, face 156.7. I'll slowly get there. And then you can semi-head hitter, and if you just hold space, it'll grab the ladder. The main thing is just make sure you're strafing and turning after you've already passed the ladder. Otherwise, you might accidentally bring yourself back in. But that being said, just doing this normally is not really that hard. So it's not necessary, but it's just like a strategy if you want it. Now there is a skip here. The intended route would go up to here and then go this way. You can actually go straight to this ladder, but this is like for more advanced players. The idea would be you need to get to this, like the corner of this block. Just be careful because if you shift off a corner, because it's like trying to step down onto that slab, you can just like fall off. But you want to, that being said, try to get to the exact corner of this block. So I'm like close enough right now. And then you would face 154.8. 2 unshift taps with S, 2 shift taps with W. That's just like the standard setup for backwards momentum. And then you would do 3 BC backwards momentum with like a nice pre-turn before jump tick, right? And then the one thing to be mindful about is that this fence here, it's actually possible to hit that fence if you're not careful enough. Like I just hit it right there, but it was fine, I guess. But as long as you get like a nice pre-turn, there's basically no way for you to hit that fence. So that's just like an alternate skip if you want to do that skip. It's just kind of precise because especially the shift timing is tick precise. So you just have to keep that in mind. But for the like normal intended route, because that's completely unnecessary, of course, go to this back corner, and then we're going to use the same coordinates we used before, which was 143, I think. Is that right? No, that's not right. Is it? Hold on a second. It was 133. 133. Okay, so if you do 133, this angle, the reason why I recommend this angle is because if you do any more inward, then now it's possible to hit the pane with like a really quick turn. So this would be like the furthest out angle that you could use, and you would aim for a 1-tick strafe. If you don't want 1-tick strafe, you could, do something like 135, and then just do like a 2-tick strafe. Just make sure you don't get 1-tick strafe with like a sharp turn, or else you can hit the pane like that, right? So you have to do a late strafe if you're doing any more inward of an angle. For this part, don't fall in the hole, right? That's pretty obvious. There are you just jump over here, and then you go to this ladder. But there are like barriers over this entire area, so you can just head hitter. And if you mess up, you can just like go jump back here, and then it's completely fine. You can just jump back. For this, we're gonna use the same coordinates for both of these. You're gonna go to 0.25, and you're gonna face 40. And then you're gonna semi head hitter with a 1-tick strafe. And this is similar to the coordinates that I showed you for the inverse Waza ladder +1, which is with the fact that it's not possible to hit the fence with these coordinates as long as you're not getting like a jump angle or a zero tick strafe, right? So that's why I recommend these coordinates. Why don't we go to the harder variant, because it's not very interesting with this one. You're gonna use the same coordinates, 0.25 face 40 for this. And then you're gonna do like a minor turn in. Just make sure because it is possible to like slide off here because the fence is smaller than the ladder hitbox. Then the other thing is if you want, you could use like 38 for example, because 38 is mostly the same. It's just that you can't do as sharp of a turn in. It's kind of like on the other jump. You can't turn in too early or you're gonna hit it. So just make sure you're turning in late if you're using any more inward of an angle than 40, right? For this, you're gonna go to, I think it's 0.85 face 28. Yeah, there you go. and you can force momentum and hold space. And then you just have to do like a late strafe and turn in. If you want to make this even easier, you can even go from here, do an extra shift tap, like outward, and then go back to the angle that you're facing, and then you just like start further rightward, which is obviously better, right? And then of course the main thing is make sure you don't hit the pane by strafing too early, because that's like the worst possible scenario, right? Oh, you can't semi-head it or that. You can chain this if you want. I liked chaining it, but it's not necessary because you can just do 3 shift taps and then it's multi-tick, right? And then we're done with room 9. Now we're on to what's called elevator. This part's really easy if you use the strategies I have. So if you just, for this one, face 131 or 132, both of them work, and your semi-head hitter, you don't have to shift or strafe, and it'll still climb the ladder because it'll be alongside like the wall hitbox, it'll climb it up. This one's easy. Just be mindful of like the 3-block ceiling there if you're jumping that one. This one has a very similar strategy. All of them have a strategy like that in here. If you face 7 or 8 degrees, I'll just face 7, you can semi-head hitter without strafing or turning or shifting, right? And it'll climb the ladder. For this one, go on the left side and face 172 and do the same thing, except you're going to head hitter. If you get 2-tick, save yourself on this ladder and then you can just climb back up. If you get jam, then you're safe. But if you get head hitter, then it'll climb without turning or strafing or shifting, etc., right? The reason why you don't want to do it on this side is because if you are going for this and then you accidentally 2-tick, there's like no way to like save yourself, right? So that's why you want to go on the left-hand side. So you do the face 8 degrees and head hitter, then this same one, again, you face 8 semi-head hitter. And then you're done with elevator. Now you're on to room 10. And this is like the last area before sky, so you're basically right at the end now. For this, just head hitter, do like a 2-tick strafe. I kind of wing this one, but if you want coordinates, you can use, I think, 24 and force momentum and do like a 1-tick strafe. And then you can do the signal neo. You can also just walk all the way around for some reason. So you don't even, I don't know why it's like that, but and then for this you're gonna basically go back as far as you can. You don't want to jump into the ceiling, of course, and jump right here. One thing that's interesting about this is there used to be a skip where you could go straight from this ladder to this ladder, but it was like absurdly precise, but they added this in the way so that you can't so that's not an issue. Anyway, this jump's actually fairly precise. And I spent a while strat finding this because I didn't like any of the existing strategies. I felt like they were all really unoptimized. So I have coordinates for you that I think are really good. So you're gonna go to the back of the block, and you're gonna go to Z0.1, facing 106 degrees, and then you're going to max Pesi and hold space. So what's nice about these coordinates is you're gonna do like you can do a nice pre-turn to like slow yourself down. Just not too early, because if you go too early, or I guess even that wasn't too early. If you go too early, you're gonna hit the wall, of course. But this is possible by like a lot. So even if you don't pre-turn, even if you just get like a sharp jump angle, for example, you can still make it by quite a bit. So these would be the coordinates that I would recommend for this jump, just because I think they're a lot better than the other coordinates that were a little unoptimized. If you go to this, you don't have to jump to the ladder. You can go to the corner and face 46 and semi-head hitter, and then probably no sprint failsafe, and then you can just stop yourself. Both semi-head hitter, both jam and A7 land on the ladder, so it's fine. For this, keep in mind that the long panes are 1 pixel longer than a short pane, so you can't go like straight, but you can do like 8 degrees, and you can probably shift forward a bit more than that. So something like this, and it's pretty lenient. If you want, you could also find like a chain strategy, but like it's completely unnecessary just because it's such a short jump. Now we're going to that ladder. What you want to do is go to this corner, face roughly straight, do 3 shift taps, and you're going to 5-tick with a strafe about 3 ticks after jumping. You don't want to do 2 ticks after jumping, because if you get 4 tick with 2 ticks after jumping, you can really easily hit the wall like that. So do 5 tick and strafe 3 ticks after jumping, just so if you get 4 tick, you can still make it easily, right? Or you can face a bit more inward if you want, like straight. Straight is a little too straight, probably. For this is actually we call this a double fuzz ladder -1 X facing or something. Face 60 from the corner, do 2 shift taps, and head hitter or 2 tick, strafe right after jumping as soon as you can, and then turn once you're past the first corner. That's the idea there. This jump from the ladder to the ladder, you can do this with 1 tick or 2 tick, like coordinates that can do either, but here, I'll just give you the coordinates and then I'll explain. There's 2 different ways you can approach this. You're going to do 0.6 face 40. The first way I would probably recommend is just 2 tick this normally, and then strafe to slow yourself down, of course. But you can actually make this with head hitter. It's just more precise, and if you want to do it in a way that can make it with both head hitter and 2 tick, what you would do instead is you wouldn't strafe until after you're shifting. You would only strafe once you're shifting, and you can do, the reason why you would do it like this is because it works for both 1 tick and 2 tick turns. That's the reason why you do it like that. Versus if you strafed with 1 tick, you have to do like a really late one, and it's really easy to under jump if you get head hitter. But anyway, I would recommend these chords. I would recommend 2 ticking and strafing late is the general idea there. Cool. We're almost to the end. Probably semi-head hitter this. If you want, you can always use the 0.2 face, I guess it would be like 41 here, or I guess that hits the wall. Maybe like 37, or, okay, maybe back up a bit. You can do 1 tick or 2 tick chords, right? Find some random jam for this. Don't hit the ceiling like I just did. This is easy. Now, to this ladder, you just have to be mindful. You're going to try and take advantage of this wall. So start on like the back right, force momentum, and then you're going to try and do like an early strafe so that you want to like squeeze yourself right into the wall, basically, and you're going to do like kind of a sharp turn to try and fit in there, and then you're going to shift once you get in, right? Don't mess up like I just did there. You can just run off the front of this. Okay, and then this is the last room. This is this is considered room 11. You can see on the sign. And if you fail this, then you go back to the previous room. So you just semi-head hitter. This is normal. Same thing here. Always making sure you have like a wide angle so that you can do a 1 tick strafe. And then this, you can do this normally with phase 5, or you can do 65 and no sprint jam and then tap space when you land. So that's another strategy you can use there. For iron bar neos, just do them the same as we always have been, even though it's a 3-block ceiling. You can still just do it the same general way. For this one, face 45, do 3 unshift taps backward and then 1 shift tap forward. You can do 4 tick, you can do 3 tick, you can even do 2 tick, but if you get 2 tick, you have to do a tick precise shift timing on the ladder. So really try to avoid 2 tick if possible. Aim for 3 or 4 tick and then shift on the ladder, right? For this, just semi-head hitter. And then this is like the second part of room 11, but it's still part of room 11. After you do this, you're like completely done and we'll be on the sky, right? So these are a few easy jumps. Maybe don't be as lazy as I was. You can do a few taps here just to make sure it's multi-tick. For your Z paint-ups, make sure you're doing face 45, in this case it's 135, semi-head hitter with a 1 tick strafe, and then just do like a smooth turn in, right? For your cross neo, do not do head hitter timing. That's just an unnecessary forced tick for no reason. Go to 0.2, face 132, and you can either do head hitter or 2 tick, and once you pass the corner, you're just going to turn and strafe inward. And you can even no turn it with strafing. It's just, you can kind of over jump with 2 tick. You can also use the force momentum if you want, but it's just kind of gimmicky because it's kind of hard to get the right timing, especially when you're nervous. You could easily like accidentally hit the corner like that, right? So that's the end of room 11. Then you have I don't think this has a name, but it's just like 3 jumps before sky, basically. I guess you could still call this room 11. You can either semi-head hitter this or run this. And then probably semi-head hitter this. And then for this, you can either jam or head hitter from the front. You can also run from the back, and then you can get anywhere between like 2 to 5 tick. So it's incredibly lenient. And then you just have to Pessy over here, and you're done with all of the failsafes on the map. You're officially onto the sky of XII. So you just crawl through, I guess this is like a water pipe or something, and you're on the last stretch of the map, right? So all the way, you can't really see through the glass over there, but all the way over there, you finally have to end the map. So we'll get started. For these are just kind of paint-ups, but they're -0, right? Now, I often see people who try to do these with no sprint semi-head hitter, and you can, but it's actually really easy to mess up like that. For example, you can, it's actually not too hard to accidentally get too little distance. You can also, I've seen with bad coordinates, people can easily like hit the wall unintentionally, and these are mistakes that you can't really make if you're just sprinting it instead. So if you just sprint it, then you're basically making the +1 variance. That gives you so much leniency that you just don't have when it's no sprint, where you could, when you're nervous, make a ton of dumb mistakes, right? And then of course you do your normal Z paint-ups the normal way, right? Face 135, in this case, semi-head hitter 1 tick strafe. Make sure you're turning in sufficiently. And then for this, of course, since it's X facing, we do 143. And semi-head hitter, same strategy as we've been doing this whole time for paint-ups. For this, it's pretty lenient. You can find any, like I guess this is 4 to 6 tick. Does 3 tick work even? Yeah, even 3 tick works from these corners. So you can chain this if you want. It's not necessary, but it's so easy that you can just chain it just for the sake of it if you want, just so that you don't have to run this, I guess. For this, jump to the ladder, you generally want to do like a face 98-ish, and you want to do like a 2 or 3 tick strafe. Or optionally, if you don't like how far like rightward this is facing, you could face like 103. And then the one thing to be careful about here is you have to make sure you get like a super late strafe, because if you don't get a late enough strafe, then you're gonna hit the wall. You can still grab it technically, even if you hit the wall, but it's not something you want to happen in a stressful situation, right? For this, please do not force momentum. The reason why is because when you're getting a jump angle in rank up, it's really easy to accidentally turn too much and like hit the wall. You can also turn too late and like not get sufficient speed, or it's just not going to give you a lot of speed, so it's kind of awkward. I would recommend instead go to 0.16, face 125, and then from here you can do anywhere between 2 and 4 tick. You want to keep in mind that you can probably strafe earlier than you think, because these corners are Z-facing. So just make sure you're turning in sufficiently. Don't hit the wall, of course, but also don't like slide off because you don't like stop yourself enough. So make sure you're turning in like all the way over here to like completely get yourself to a standstill when you're shifting, right? For this, you can actually just run off this if you don't want to do a tick timing. Just to prevent any dumb mistakes. That's something you can do. Another dumb mistake you can make here, this jump is really lenient, but if you use bad coordinates, it's possible to have coordinates where, let's see if I can get an example, where max force momentum will work, but not other force momentum timings. So you can see I can do max force momentum, but 2 tick force momentum will hit the pane, 3 tick force momentum will hit the pane, 4 tick, etc., right? And it can do that in really unintuitive ways. So just make sure that you're facing out sufficiently, and ensure that whenever you're practicing, test every conceivable force momentum timing that you could get, so that you can make sure that it's not like just 3 tick force momentum hits it or something, right? But generally just strafe and turn in after you pass the pane, right? For this is really lenient. Just find like, so this is 2 to 5 tick coordinates if you want to use these, 0.24, face 131. But it's not necessary just because it's so lenient. Same thing as before, please do not use head hitter timing here, that's completely unnecessary. If you go 0.2, face 132, you can either do head hitter or 2 tick, and you strafe and turn once you pass the corner, right? And you can still, if you really want to, you can still force momentum this. You can even, if you don't like 2 and 3 tick, you can find coordinates like this, which are like 3 and 2 tick. It's just, you kind of have to control the speed a little bit better. You could optimize the coordinates a little more than what I was just using, but you can find something for 2 and 3 tick as well. For this, you're going to use, let's see, I don't remember the chords, 0.15, face 153 on the back of this block. And you're going to do 2 or 3 tick. Technically, you can make it with head hitter. It's just like super precise, so I wouldn't really worry about it. The idea is you're going to do 2 or 3 tick, and then you're going to strafe 3 ticks after jumping and turn in, right? Because all of these are technically no turn, but they all have different strafe timings. So do 2 or 3 tick, strafe 3 ticks after jumping, and turn in. And it's relatively imprecise in terms of the turn. You land by quite a lot. For this, you can use the optimal angle, which is, in this case, it's 133. And you're going to do semi-head hitter with a 1 tick strafe. The reason for this facing, again, is because it's impossible to hit the pane regardless of what turn you do, as long as... Oh, actually, that's something that can happen if... I guess if you turn super far in, you can see that I actually hit the head there. But just don't do something like crazy. Try and land like out here so that you don't accidentally hit the head and something weird happens, I guess. That's probably not going to happen to you, but anyway, it's imprecise. Just semi-head hitter, 1 tick strafe. For this, you could, you want to face about straight. Semi-head hitter, do either a 2 or 3 tick strafe. You could probably even do a 4 tick, yeah. And it's just generally any strafe timing is going to work well here. So it's pretty lenient. And then you finally have the last jump, which when I played this map, I actually tried to do a forced head hitter on this jump 3 times because I failed the first 2 times on failing head hitter. But you don't have to do that, because if you go to 0.5 and face, let's see, 155 or 154, I think both of them work, then you can semi-head hitter and both of them land on the block. And then, of course, the thing you have to be mindful of is don't get 10 tick pesty, but actually turning in after you pass the pane. Make sure you don't turn in too early and hit the pane. So that's one reason why you might want to use 154 instead, just to ensure that you have a little bit more leniency. But of course, you have to make sure you don't fall off. If you want to feel quirky, you can also do this, where you strafe after landing. But that's like kind of just a flare that's completely unnecessary, because it's kind of an easy jump. But anyway, that's the all of XII. So you click your sign, you rank up, and then we're on to XIII, which is like not loading in. But we'll cover this in the next episode. So I'll see you guys.